guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for pressing on this video. If it's your first time here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And if it's not your first time, thank you for coming back. So I'm still at home, but I'm on my way back to work now. My leave is over. I'm actually at home in Joburg. Yeah, so I'm still with family. So if there's any background noise or somebody singing, it's the family. So but I really wanted to film this. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about relocating with my son. So if you had watched my other videos, you'll notice that I was alone when I relocated. So to give a bit of background, when I got my job in Botswana, I did not plan on relocating with my son. It was a bit of a last minute thing. So when I got my job and relocated, I didn't plan on bringing my son over. It was just solely for me. But as the year progressed last year, I realized that actually I want to live with my son. So I started the process of finding a school for him and finding out what I need to do to be able to live with him. So as I mentioned earlier on my other video about relocating, I didn't do all the paperwork myself because I already had a job in Botswana. So all of that was taken care of by the company that I work for. So when I decided that I want to take my child with me or want to bring him over to Botswana, I consulted with my managers. I told them that I'm thinking of bringing my son and I'd like them to assist me with all the necessary paperwork that's required. And my HR manager was more than happy to do that for me. So I told her, and then we started looking for schools. So I think I did say that I don't live in Gaborone now. I work on site in a hospital that is outside of Gaborone. So in the town where I live, there aren't a lot of schools. So there was just one school that my HR manager told me about, which she recommended, which is an English medium school. In Botswana, schools are classified in that sense, that is an English medium, Botswana medium. After I had shared that with her, we called the school and they were like, no, we don't need much. We just need a transfer letter and I think a letter of behavior or good something like that. Maybe it was a letter of good standing or something. I can't remember. And then they said they only do the process once the child has their final report for the year, which means end of year report, which means I couldn't carry on with the process for applying for him for a school until I got his end of year report. So at that time it was September. So I just found out how much the fees are, about the school, and I realized that it's an old school and it's a very trusted school in the town. And so I was like, okay, I'm happy with the school, but I'd really like to have more options. So I started doing a bit of research myself. I started researching and I found out that there are 2 other English medium schools in the town. So I went to visit them. I went to visit one. The first one I went to, I did not like. As I entered the gate, I actually entered and I was like, guys, application for next year open. And the teachers were sitting outside and they were like, no, you must call, giving me a bit of attitude. And I was like, okay, I didn't like the school anyway. And then I left. And then I went to the other school. The second school that I went to, they did give me a bit more information. They gave me the application form, their uniform, the stationery list. They gave me everything, but they were like, they only do the application. There's no application process. Applications are basically a test. If the child passes the test, they're likely to be accepted because I don't think they get a lot of applications. So I did nothing. The only thing I did was communicate with my son's previous school for all the documents that were required from the school. I did that and we waited. End of the year came. Africans don't need a visa to go to Botswana. We don't require a visa. You can just grab your passport and go to the border. But at that time, just remembered something. But at that time, because it was COVID times, we were still required to test. But I was fully vaccinated, so I didn't have to test. But my son had to test. And you guys know what? January came. My son went to test. He was on holiday. They went on holiday with the family and I decided not to go. I felt like being at home. So when they were in Durban, my sister took my son to go test and then I picked him up in Durban and then we went to the airport and went to Joburg. When we landed in Joburg, I got the SMS for his COVID test results and he tested positive for COVID. So I was a bit stressed because he was fine. He wasn't sick, but he was a bit fluey 2 weeks prior. Because I remember on my birthday, which is before a few days before Christmas, he was a bit sick, and yeah, he was in bed the whole day. So I think he was a bit COVID-y, but at that time he was fine. So we got home, we started steaming. There's nothing I didn't do. The next morning I woke up and I was like, we're going to do another COVID test because I can't leave you behind. I did not budget to drive to do a back and forth twice in January. So yeah, the next morning my dad and I went to go get him tested, and then we waited. The results came back, they said negative. I was like, I'm off to the border. So we left. We were gonna leave the same day in like around 5. So we left Botswana, and at that time he did not have a permit, so he was only given the maximum number of days, which is 90 days on his passport. And so when we got there, it was the 2nd of January. Schools were still closed. I just went back to work. He stayed at home. So when schools opened, the first school called. No, I called the one school, and they did not answer, which means they were still closed. And then I called the other one. They answered and said, no, they are open, but they're not open for interviews yet or tests yet. And then I took him again. He wrote the test, but I just wasn't happy with their processes. The test was super long. Mind you, my son was in grade 2 last year. He's in grade 3 now. So a 4-page long exam for an 8-year-old is just too much. So I was so frustrated. He didn't even finish the test or the interview. So he didn't really pass it, but they were like, they understand and they accept him. But I wasn't happy. So I took him to the second school when the teachers opened. I took him there. The test was what I expected it to be. A spelling test and a math test, which took about 20 minutes. And then he was done. And they were like, okay, no, he passed. He qualifies. We have a space for him. And then I bought the uniform and he went. That's how he got his school. The application process wasn't hard at all. Getting his permit, for him to get his long-term permit, which is the same duration as my permit because it's under me. It was very easy. I got my long-term permit in October last year. So I was using my temporary permit, and from February last year until October last year. They kept renewing it until I got my long-term last year, October. I moved with my son this year, January, and he's had his permit since May. So his was much quicker than mine because I was already there and I had a permit, so the process was quicker. But I had to pay for his, and that cost me around 1,500 pula. He started school, and when he started school, it was okay-ish. Obviously, I expected some challenges. It's a new school, a new country, a different language. So I expected him to be a bit frustrated. So it wasn't easy. But one thing that made it even more difficult was his schoolwork. Yo, guys, Pure came back with homework, and his homework was talking about plants. That a plant has roots, a stem, a leaf, a flower, and how the roots are the ones that get the nutrients from the soil and the water up the stem to the leaves. Like that complicated process for a grade 3. So that's when I realized that actually the curriculum for this country is totally different to what I expected, and I did not do any research about it. I didn't do any research. I remember I spoke to a friend of mine who told me that they do A-levels and they use standards instead of grades, but actually when I looked at them, they're actually the same. Like in South Africa, we used standards a long time ago, and standard 1, for example, is grade 3 in South Africa. Standard 1 in Botswana is grade 1. So when I was told he's going to standard 3, I was a bit confused. I was like, no, he's going to standard 1. But then when we saw the age difference and whatnot, we realized, no, he's actually right. He's going to standard 3. So their curriculum is so ahead. They use the British curriculum. What is Cambridge? They use the Cambridge curriculum, which is so ahead compared to the South African curriculum. And for grade 1 to grade 3 in South Africa, they only do English, math, life skills, and a second language, which could be Zulu Afrikaans. I know he did Afrikaans. And the subjects that he's doing: maths, English, science, cultural studies, and French. He had an option to choose between French and Setswana, and I was like, no, I think I want him to do French, because it's gonna be so frustrating with everyone in his class knowing what they're talking about except for him. So I was like, no, he's fine with French. He must learn a new language. Setswana he'll pick up at home with our neighbors and his friends on the playground. So yeah, that was a bit of an adjustment. Guys, it didn't end there. Comma plans. They went on to learn about the brain. He came back one day and was like, oh mom, I know that the brain has a brain stem. And I was like, there's no way you're learning about that. And then he took out his homework, and I was like, damn, he's actually learning about this. So yeah, their curriculum is quite ahead. I know I learned about the brain in high school. Maybe plants in primary, but also in grade 5 or grade 6. And then this past term, second term, they were doing the heart. I remember when he took out this paper with the heart, I was like, did you pick up this paper from the floor? Where did you get this paper from? He was like, no, we're doing this in class. We were learning that the blood that comes from the body is deoxygenated, so it needs to go to the heart first, and then the heart will pump it to the lungs, and then it will get oxygen. And then I was like, how the hell are they teaching these children this, and these kids are actually getting it? So it was a bit of an adjustment on my side, but he actually handled it well. I think he's also very curious, so this curriculum is very stimulating for him. He's enjoying it, even though sometimes, for example, like spelling things like esophagus and small intestine, so those are things that are not easy for children. So he's still learning how to spell and write like proper spelling, and now he's learning about things that are so intense. So yeah, they're even learning about carnivores and herbivores. I mean, like, guys, not in grade 3. Like, we didn't do that in grade 3. So their curriculum is quite ahead, but shame, he did adjust quite quickly. And also one thing that I really like about the school is that even during COVID, because I remember at some point earlier on this year, they had a very high number of COVID cases in Botswana, but they carried on with sports. I really enjoy that. I really like that. Even though parents are not allowed to go watch, but the kids are still doing PE. They participating in extramural activities. It's not just all school. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this change and the differences that I've encountered, because things that I did in primary are totally different. But the one thing though I did notice is that the books that they're reading are books that are of lower level. Like for the English reading books, they come back with a reading book every week. They're quite at the right level for them. But in science, there's that difference where I don't understand how they got to doing the heart and the esophagus and the stomach, but they're reading about Ben hit the ball. I really don't understand. So yeah, it is a bit of an adjustment for me, but for him, he's doing fine. He's doing fine. He's enjoying it. He's enjoying the new environment. It wasn't that much of an adjustment. I also think because he's not a child that finds it hard to adjust or to meet new people or to socialize. He's very sociable. Like he goes with the flow. He goes with the flow. Yeah. So yeah, that's my little short story on how I relocated with my son to Botswana. I hope that you guys did enjoy this short video. I hope it's short. Oh, it's 15 minutes. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, comment down below, and please do subscribe to my channel. Bye guys, see you next time. Bye.